something incredibly dramatic and very unusual happens in this room, Darcy, and I'm really wondering if you're going to be able to get your guides to tune in on this very unusual occurrence.
Okay, I don't know if I'm ahead of myself or behind myself. Okay, I see two men sitting, getting up, the broadswords, and I can hear, like, when metal hits metal.
Keep going.
And I can hear chains, so they must have one of those ball and chain things. So I would say that there was bloodshed in this room.
And now, Radio Sydney presents Seeing Dead People, Episode 38, England's Most Haunted Pub.
Okay. Well, hello, Darcy. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Nicola?
I'm great. It's just a gorgeous beginning of August, isn't it?
Yeah. It's hard to believe it's gone by so fast.
It is hard to believe. July just seemed to fly by, and we've had such gorgeous weather. I can't get over it. So, Darce, today I believe we're going to meet a number of spooky apparitions, plus an enchanting mythical aquatic creature.
Ah.
Now, just wondering, based on the little sort of smile you've given me, are you sensing anything today?
No, but I was sort of hoping once again that you didn't pick murder and mayhem.
Well, I would say today's kind of a mixed one. It's not going to be as violent as some of the past are. I tried not to. Well, I'm going to be a little cheeky today, if I'm honest, Darcy, because we're going to go on an overseas trip. We're heading across the sea once again to the old country, to that green and pleasant land famously known as England. And once we're there, we'll be traveling southeast, all the way across country to an ancient port on the south coast called Rye, where we will be investigating the famous hauntings experienced by many, and I'm presuming will be experienced by you today, in a truly ancient building called the Mermaid Inn. Now, before we go any further, I want our listeners to know that, as usual, you've neither seen the photos nor heard anything about this episode until this last few minutes, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great, because I have shortened our intro, and therefore I have taken that out. So I just want people to know that they are going to be really impressed, I'm sure, to get to hear your spontaneous comments about this episode, because you're looking at the pictures at the same time as our listeners and hearing the story exactly the same time as they are. Let's start by having a look at our first photograph, photograph number 1. It's a shot of the Mermaid Inn's iconic exterior entrance sign. And of course, it features the famous mermaid of this local hostelry. Not much to choose from that photo for ideas, Darcy, but I just wondered if you were getting any hints.
Well, my guess is bootlegging, pirates, gang members, because, it's gone through time. So It just makes sense. Like, it's not as though this is maybe it is a new placard, but this has been here forever.
Right. Well, that's good. I like the way you immediately cottoned on to the fact that there's a lot of history here. And you're right. We're going to find out a lot about much of it. So if you recall in British folklore, Darcy, mermaids are considered to be vain, long-haired creatures known for luring sailors to their death. Is that how you see mermaids, Darcy? Because I thought maybe from your spirit world perspective, you might see mermaids a little differently.
I do. I actually feel, yes, I'm not sure so much they're vain, but, there's not much else they can do underwater. But I know the theory that they lured sailors to the death, but what if it was really they're trying to prevent their death, but because they're men, they go where the girl is?
Well, how would they be trying to prevent their death then? By luring or siren calling them?
Well, trying to prevent them from going to, say, a rock pile.
Okay, so they're not getting the right message literally from the mermaid.
No, because it is, a banshee will bring you to your death.
Right.
It should be deterring you from it.
Okay. Well, I'm not really sure how much our mermaid metaphor is going to mean to us today, but at the very least, she's heralding us to come inside and meet some of her more notorious guests. So let's just situate ourselves, Darcy, before we actually check in to the inn. Have a look at photo number 2. It's a screenshot from Google Maps, and it highlights the little town of Rye, which you can see is in the bottom right. It's nearly a seaside town, as it lies inland just a couple of miles off the Strait of Dover in the county of Essex, in, as I said earlier, the southeast of England. So have you any inclinations of what and who we might find in this little town today, Darcy?
I want to say like blackjack. People of interesting morals.
Okay, and are you saying that just because it's an historical English town by the water, or are you saying that in addition to that, obviously, perhaps you have inclinations of something?
I would say a little of both.
Okay, cool. I figured that. Well, I think this is one holiday trip you're going to remember, Darcy, because there's supposed to be 72 active ghosts in the center of Rye.
Okay.
Now, I doubt we're going to see them all today, but I want you to imagine the old real estate brochure featuring pictures of a medieval-looking, narrow, windy streets, cobblestone, lined with Tudor-style black and white buildings and chunky stone cottages jumbled against one another, cheek and jowl. That'll give you an idea of what Rye, a very picturesque town, looks like. It's so old, it was recorded in the famous land survey, which was nicknamed the Doomsday Book, undertaken in 1086.
Wow.
Yeah. At that time, Rye boasted 189 households, which made it a significant place for that era. Today, it's home to about 5,000 folks who are mainly involved in tourism and marine-related industries. Its main drag is called Mermaid Street, and we're trudging now along the cobbles as the narrow street rises to our destination, a sprawling historic inn, also called Mermaid. As you can see in, let's say, photo number 3, if we move on, it's a mid-20th century postcard, kind of sepia colored. You can see the Mermaid Inn on the left. It rises up the street. It's quite a long building. It's got that classic Tudor look to it. Believe it or not, parts of it are so old, they're from the 12th century. So it's medieval. Definitely the cellars themselves are at least 12th century. So unbelievably old, and an amazing, I guess, amount of people that have come through this inn and history that's happened around and inside it. The current buildings are a mere 600 years old. So, I mean, the paint's barely dried on them, Darcy.
Yeah.
Do you get any ideas from this sepia postcard?
Well, I mean, nice, quaint English fishing villa. Not as much as if it had been a real photo that it would really show up.
Okay, well, we'll give you just that right now. Move to photo number 4. It's a current color photograph. It's on the opposite angle looking down Mermaid Street. The inn is now on our right-hand side, but you can see it's still that whitewashed white with the Tudor striping and some lovely ivy, it looks like, now growing on the outside that wasn't there earlier. It looks just charming to me, right out of a storybook. I don't see anything untoward. However, do you?
Well, when I first opened it, the first thing I got was a little nauseous. So obviously some deaths and stuff that were here, maybe a little violent.
Okay.
Okay. There's a lady in the top window.
Okay, wait a second. We've got a window.
The second window. Okay, the window next to the mermaid sign.
Oh, okay. Like that's not even a window I can see very clearly in. I'm moving in. Oh, I can see kind of a shape. You mean that kind of shape, eh?
No, not that. It's beside it.
Oh, okay. See there, I was saying I could actually see a shape, but in fact it's not. Where are you looking up beside that actual window?
The white curtain. And
yes.
Oh, and then right beside the white curtain is a lady. But now that I've looked a little better at the one before, there's a family in that window. And
how do you describe a family? Who's in it? How many?
Mother, husband, son.
Really? And how clearly can you see these people?
I just get a shape of them.
Oh, all right. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so you're already communing with the ghosts of the inn. That's great. Okay. Well, before we nip inside, we're going to go through a little alleyway, which cuts a wide swath between kind of the two of the parts of this building. This building's quite jumbled bunch of pieces. So have a look at photo number 5, and you'll get the look in this little darkish alley. And there's a statue in the bottom left above a set of stairs. So that's not a person. Other than that, it seems to me a completely blank space between the two Tudor-looking sides. Do you have any hints or inklings of anybody in this area?
The building that literally divides the two.
Yes.
Is that part of the Tudor Inn? Like,
yes,
because it feels like I can't see, but I feel like there's people in there.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. All right. Well, are you ready to go inside this ancient hotel?
Sure. And it's
Okay.
2 men that I'm feeling.
Oh, well, good. I can't wait. All right. Well, let's just head to the entrance, shown in photo number 6. Quite a classic, cute looking entrance. It's a little hard to get a sense of the size of it. Can you describe this to our listeners and tell us what you might see beyond what is obvious?
Well, it's a little walk in with looks like a awning over top as you go into the Mermaid Inn. There's a sign on the side that says Mermaid Inn, and it's got when it's established and everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Tudor windows with the crossing effect, like the LED window effect on it. Dark door to go in. Looks very pleasant if you wanted to go into it.
Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't give you a haunting or nauseous sense to walk in the door?
It makes my heart race, but other than that, I'm more than willing to walk in the door and have a look.
Okay, so on average, an old inn wouldn't necessarily make your heart race if you were going to approach it, would it?
Oh yeah, it would, because
But maybe all of them, right? I mean,
all
just
of them,
all of them?
all
because
the old inns
always
I've
been
ever been in England.
okay? But if you were heading into a Motel 6 in Victoria, would you have? Okay,
Not because someone died in it.
okay, gotcha. So there's a lot of history that you can already feel.
Yeah.
Okay, well, as you can imagine, given the hundreds of years of history of this inn, a lot has happened here, and it has hosted many famous people, including the Queen Mother, Marlon Brando, and Johnny Depp as actors. Even Shakespeare put on a play in 1597. But there's one group of people, Darcy, who favored the inn's bar, and their fame stands above all. I'll give you a hint of who this group might be. The town's location beside the Rother River is key, as this is the river that's a short distance from the Strait of Georgia, and that, of course, separates England from France. Have you any inclinations about who these famous guests might be to this inn?
Well, I'm thinking bootleggers. Okay. you know, yeah, bootleggers, gangs.
Right on. Okay.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Now I've got something to say here. I you know how I did in the one deck where I had the cards?
Yeah,
Well,
so you've got
I was shuffling cards before we got going. Okay.
yeah.
So the Queen Mother. So there should be a room where the Queen resided. Okay.
Okay, wait, I can't see that card very well. Hold it up a little bit better. So it's a cat.
Queen of Cups.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
So you're saying there has to be a bed.
Sorry. The Empress. So that would be the Queen, right? The
Right, absolutely.
So
Okay.
France too.
Okay.
People that were trying to get away or have affairs inside of the hotel. Okay. So this is the Two of Cups.
And then it's tails. 2 tails or something.
Yes, and that's what this whole thing is about, tales of people.
Tails of people. Okay, I love it.
Okay. And the Ace of Pentacles, which
Yeah.
is, notice how the cat's striped, where crooked deals were struck.
Crooked deals were struck. Oh my gosh. Okay. You got that because the cat had stripes?
Yep. Cat's had striped, and the way he's looking at the food, like, that's not quite what I want. Offer me something else.
Oh man, I love it. That's cool. So that's three tarot cards that you flipped up.
This deck is called Cat Tarot.
Cat tarot. I love it. Oh man, you and your tarot. Those are really three insightful cards, Darcy. You're going to find out. I'm sure you already.
But the last one was the fact the hermit. People were hidden here during Prohibition. Well, what we would consider Prohibition. So, people who were being smuggled out of the country or into the country, they were hidden in the basement.
I'm laughing because there's a lot of similarity happening here, and you haven't even heard the story yet. Okay, is that it for the tarot cards?
For right now, yep.
Frig, that's fantastic. Okay, let's move inside then to this famous haunted inn, and you're going to see a really spooky atmospheric sepia interior shot of the entrance hall. It's dated. I don't know the actual date, but it's an older shot, probably in the 50s or something. I wondered if you could see anything spooky other than the fact that it's really a cool looking photograph.
Well, interesting that you said Shakespeare, like stayed here, because one of the first things when I opened it, I didn't see the bus. Okay. But the first thing I thought was theater and so I did think of Shakespeare, then you said it. So, but there's a lady standing, I think those are stairs, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, there's a lady who keeps going up and down the stairs. She's sort of, I can't see her face, but I would say she's probably mid-20s, possibly in her 30s, but I'm bad with age, okay? She's got on a cloak, but under the cloak is like a light blue or light dress, and she keeps going up and down. Oh,
okay.
And there's a dog that keeps wanting to get into the other door that's there.
What kind of dog? I mean, size-wise?
Labrador.
Okay. Far out. Okay. Well, that's pretty good from that little sepia photograph. Now I'm going to show you a more recent version and a full color shot so you can see much more clearly what you're looking at of that entrance hall. So yes, there's the bust of Shakespeare. So yes, drama was happening here. And that's the staircase. Are you seeing the same apparitions in this photograph? This is amazing.
The one with the red carpet?
Exactly. Photo. It
fireplace.
Should be number. Did I not number these? Yeah.
No, you didn't number them.
God. Photo number 7. Sorry.
Is that the one with the fireplace and the stained glass and the guy on the wall?
No, it's the photo that's directly past the sepia colored entrance hall. It's the entrance hall with a red carpet and stairway in the back and the bust of Shakespeare.
Just a minute, I gotta find it.
I'm so sorry. I really blew it today.
It's okay, it happens. We're all allowed to have those days. Okay. I have, oh, maybe that's because it didn't come up. Sorry, that's why it didn't come up. Oh, there she is again, running up the stairs. That sort of spooked me. There's a guy standing there, but it's a real guy. You do see him, right?
No, I don't see a real guy. I just see a bust of Shakespeare, a set of stairs, and a red carpet, dark ceiling. It's called entrance hall.
Yeah.
Okay. You see a person there?
Yeah, can't you see him? He's right there on the photo. He's just
real. Oh, right in the back.
Yeah.
You're right. At the back. I hadn't seen that before. My God, you're quick. Okay. Yes, I do see a real person. He's in black.
Yeah. And that's because the door's not closed.
Correct. I don't know what that room is, but he looks like he's carrying something.
Yeah.
Okay. But you do see the same woman running up and down the stairs in this photo, which is the same angle and same photo, same look as the photo previously.
And a little girl.
And a little girl.
Yeah. She's probably about 5.
Okay, this is going to be, all right. This is going to be challenging. So don't go ahead of me now because they're not numbered. So slide forward. You should find now the photo that's called Giant's Fireplace Bar.
Yes.
And it's this massive bar mantle at the very back and a very sumptuous red carpet.
Well, they've obviously closed in the fireplace because at one point it was all the way open. And there's people dining. Okay, like in that one table, that should be a round table with some like rough looking stools by the looks of it. And they're sitting on it. I can see the keg, and they've got on, I would have almost said could have been Viking by the looks of it, because they got on that fur like cape
Okay.
on.
So when you're describing the look of the interior of this Giant's Fireplace Lounge, what I see, Darcy, is like a photograph probably within the last 20 years of modern chairs, modern table, smaller fireplace. Although, as you say, it looks like it was able to hold logs of a large size. You're not seeing that. I mean, you're seeing that, but beyond that, you're seeing
Yes.
a in the past.
Beyond that, I'm seeing what it would have looked like in the past. It would have been sawdust on the ground, maybe brick under it, because that looks like sawdust or straw. And the fire went right across. Like
Right.
There wasn't a little blocked in, so it's only a tiny fire. There was a stag head above the fireplace.
Okay. I'm going to mail you now a photo I wasn't going to use unless you came up with it, and you tell me if this is what these people look like. So I'm just going to say old people, just so you know what, it's not the same as the ones you've got right now. Okay.
Okay.
Called old people in the subject line. It's coming right now to you. You look at that and tell me if that's the sort of era of people you are seeing. So take a moment for that to come through, because that's, I didn't think you would get that at all. So I didn't bother giving it to us as a photograph. And I'm astounded that you've looked into that and you see that scene.
There's
that
nothing attached to it.
Are you sure it says old people and it's not attached?
Yeah, it says old people, but there's no photo.
Okay, I'll try it again. Share. Gmail. There's the photo. Okay, Darcy. Okay, this one has nothing in the subject line.
Okay.
Here it comes. Okay, back we go. So you should get something quickly, because that's I'd be very interested to find if that's the sort of era. This is a long time ago era of people.
That's funny. The photo's not coming through.
All right. I don't know how can I show it to you. It's a photograph.
Oh, there it is. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm seeing.
Okay, so that's a Saxon era.
Okay.
We're talking like 1,000, 1080 or something, ridiculous time frame. I don't even know. But that's what they had, the capes, and they had those helmets with the thing on the nose. That's the sort of era from a long, long time ago. So I would imagine that's right. Actually, what you're seeing,
that is
incredibly ancient, rough kind of time frame.
Because one of the things that I was seeing is the fact that they were making deals and they had these leather pouches with money in there sliding across, and they're removing someone important.
Removing?
Yeah, like moving him from there to somewhere else where he could be safe or she could be safe.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to come to that, because if you look at that fireplace, this room has, and we haven't described it, but it is sumptuous, isn't it? It's got oak beams, and it's got red carpeting and these lovely huge giant grandfather clock and leaded windows with stained glass. Although you're seeing sawdust and rough tables and tankards and men and women, I guess, dressed like the Saxon era, a long time ago. Well, that fireplace has what's called a priest's hole.
Yeah.
So exactly, it's carved into the upper part of the chimney itself, and that's for someone to hide out. And they call it a priest's hole because it was used for hiding Roman Catholics, but I would imagine it could have been used for hiding anybody.
Yeah, I agree.
So wow, you have that hit right on there. My goodness. Well done. Okay. Well, the next place in the inn we're going to go, Darcy, is the lounge. So if you scroll forward from the giant's fireplace, you'll get to another image of a similar room. It has a fireplace, but it's not exactly the same fireplace, if you can tell. And it's called Lounge Mermaid Inn. Again, leaded windows on the left-hand side. Do you see that one?
I do. Can I,
Okay.
they keep referring to, sorry, they being my guides. They keep referring to the white lady who was trying to get away from the emperor. So trying to remove herself from her husband, or is, I'm not sure if she's actually connected to the inn itself.
Okay, well, I can tell you there is one of the more famous ghosts, more regularly seen ghosts, is of a woman wearing either white or gray, possible a robe idea, and that she travels around the hallways between, it seems to be room 1 and 5, and we're going to get to the rooms, but you've already nipped that quickly in the bud and discovered that she exists. I'm not sure if anybody is sure who she actually is. There's thoughts that she could be the wife of a smuggler. There's thoughts that she could be somebody else from the town. We don't know, but she is well known and well seen, I guess is the words.
Well, I'm asking because I can see her in this picture.
Oh, wow. The second lounge picture. Where is she?
Over where the lights are next to the window. I'm pretty sure there's like a hidey, or like that door may have not have been a door at one time.
Okay.
You know, where you could press it and it would open and you could go through. So I'm guessing that there's hidden spaces in the walls.
Yep. Okay, well, you're dead on there. There are multiple secret tunnels and staircases in this inn, and they were used by many to escape quietly, to take off, to hide, all kinds of stuff. So yes, you're dead right on that. I got to mention to you that every downstairs room in this hotel has a witch's ball. Now, I'm sure you know what a witch's ball is, and if you zoom in on the upper left chandelier, you'll see a witch's ball that's hanging down below it.
Oh, so there is.
And there's one in every room, and my reading is that they're there to reflect any negative spells that might be pushed into the inn from the outside by a witch. Is that your understanding?
I believe that's right. It captures or removes. Right.
So there's supposed to be a good luck piece because they stop bad omens and curses coming into you inside the building.
Someone must have done a curse about a frog in this one, because there's a frog trapped in that ball.
There's a frog trapped in the ball?
Yeah, if you look, you can see the frog.
Well, I see, reflections of, I see actually kind of looks to me like a candy cane look, and then there's kind of a whiteness in there that I wouldn't say is a frog, but I guess maybe you could say is a frog. But are you actually seeing a frog?
I'm seeing a frog.
Wow, I'm seeing a lot of nifty reflection, but not a frog. So that's cool. So they have those witches' balls everywhere in the downstairs level, of course. So the room looks abandoned to me. So you're seeing the woman in what color would you say?
White with a gray
cloak
coat on, or cloak.
Exactly. Okay, and that's exactly what that's exactly how she is seen throughout the hotel. Do you see anybody else in this room?
Well, there's two people, and obviously this room did not look like this when at the time frame I'm looking at.
Right.
And it feels as though they held a trial in here too, and that two people, they look like men, may have been executed in this room.
Wow. So when you say executed, in what manner might that have happened?
Probably stabbed in the heart by the looks of it.
So what are you actually seeing when you tell me this?
Well, I see, and this would go back probably again to the Tudor time frame because of the clothes, the white collar, that little beanie hat.
Yep.
The the fireplace is going. They're standing, there's a long table, and they're standing, and there's two men, one at the head and one over here, and someone's behind them, and whatever the verdict is, they've been run through with a sword.
Holy cripes. Well, this to me, well, it's remarkable, Darcy, and it sounds to me it's exactly the sort of thing that happened in this inn hundreds of years ago. But what I'm also struck by, I think this is the first time you've told us that you're seeing more in a photograph than literally is that time frame. You're seeing a different time frame. The photo is changing in your eyes to a earlier time frame.
Yeah, that would be about right.
You've not done that with us before. You might have said, I see a person in the corner, somebody's walking across, whatever. You get a sense of that, but you're not saying to me, I now see this room. You have a photograph of it in 1985, but I'm actually seeing it in 17 something. Yes. You've never done that before.
No.
So is this new to you or just to us?
To you.
To me. Wow, we've done a lot of shows and you haven't had that. So why do you think it's happening? Because why?
Well, because the age of the building and the fact that there's multiple incidences inside of here, and just the way they're showing it.
And the they is?
My guides.
Your guides.
Like they are saying, you can't see anything in this because it just looked like a modern day room. So here, we're going to plunk everything into it so you can see what actually happened.
Wow. And do they then choose the era they're going to show you? Because, of course, how many thousands of tens of thousands of days have happened in
Absolutely. They choose.
They choose.
Something that's significant here. What's interesting is this has been broadcast before. Like, we're not doing it for the first time. It's been broadcast, the ghost specter or something like that. Like, people have looked at this in before, like nationally or internationally on TV, about the hauntings.
And how do you know that?
Because I just saw a camera and the lights focused.
Okay, well, you're absolutely right. It was featured on a show called Haunted, and the inn owner is a nice gal named Judith who gave me permission to use these photographs. She has witnessed, and we'll hear about the story of it. She's witnessed some events herself, and yes, this inn, it's considered to be one of the most haunted places in England, and in fact, most haunted perhaps in southeast of England. They do have people coming in regularly, but there was a big feature on it for a television series, and they examined the inn very carefully.
Okay. Before we go any farther, when you look at this picture and you look up at the beam there where the light is, there's the two pictures and the big one in the middle. And when you look up, can you see anything there?
Well, I just see a big shadow along the ceiling. That's all. What do you see?
Well, I've got the shadow, but I feel like, yeah.
I'm zooming in where the little light is, and to the left of the little light, there's I don't know what is, a funny reflection maybe above the middle picture.
Yeah, but it feels like a person.
Oh, okay. Well, you have the better feeling than I'll ever have.
Okay. We'll leave it there and let you tell a little more of the story.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, let's talk about these famous guests that they've had. You've come across the sort of Saxon era, I'm going to call it, for want of a better term, because I'm not a historian. You also at the top of the show mentioned immediately bootleggers, smuggling, criminal activities. Yeah, you're dead right. They're the most famous group that used this inn were a group called the Hawkhurst Gang. They were the most dominant and successful criminal smugglers of tea in southern England in the 18th century. Now, you may know that tea was, of course, very important to the English, and it was smuggling tea in those days was a thriving business because the taxes on tea were so steep that the average person hadn't a hope in heck in having a few little green leaves. So getting the tea other ways was the only way the average person could get it. And this gang, the Hawkhurst gang, favored the Mermaid Bar and Lounge. And it was just a short stroll from the river, as I described. And the river is just a short 2 miles to the sea. So they would be coming in from the sea with their smuggled booty. So if you look at the next photo, Darcy, should be photo 11, but it doesn't have any identification. I'm sorry. It's a black and white drawing of what this gang looked like in the year 1747. So is that, they look to me, when you talked about the kind of bootleggers, is this what you're foreseeing?
Yeah, they look very much like pirates.
Pirates, exactly. I think of them as sort of like Cyrano de Bergerac buccaneer types.
True.
Yeah, that's sort of the 18th century, 1700 look. Can you get a sense of anything from this drawing? I know drawings are often quite difficult and flat for you.
Well, just looks like they're trying to break into something.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? They probably are, knowing them. The customs house, they probably are trying to steal money.
Or more tea.
More tea. Yes, probably that's what the tea would be. Yeah, you're right. Well, okay, the next photograph, this group were vicious and brutal thugs. They tortured and murdered anyone who dared speak against them. And they were very arrogant, Darcy. They would sit and commandeer the inn's lounge and bar. They would have their pistols brazenly laid out on the tables. They practically dared the locals and the authorities to challenge them. But of course, very few did. And there's good reason why very few challenged them, because if you did challenge them, and some people did, for their sin, they were crucified on their own front door. So that's quite the deterrent, don't you think? And punishment.
Yeah. And that could be why it looks, maybe those beams were used for crucifixion too.
Oh, I don't know. That's a thought.
Because it looks like the person's stuck in the beam.
It looks like the person is stuck on the beam.
Inside the beam, like
inside the beam. Wow. Okay. I don't see that at all. So that's an interesting connection. I couldn't possibly say there's anything about it. As I mentioned earlier, many secret tunnels were built and are in this place. They were there, of course, to evade capture and to escape and to bring secretly in these smuggled goods. Some of the tunnels actually led from this inn into the town of Rye itself, so you could escape, through popping up onto another street. And one of them passage led from this inn to one of the other inns in town called the Old Bell, and it was on the high street in Rye. So there's a revolving cupboard in the Old Bell near the bar, and they would appear and be able to, revolve out of that cupboard and into the Old Bell, having escaped quietly and secretly under the streets, I guess, from the Mermaid Inn or back the other way. So quite the intricate way of getting around and not getting caught by any authorities.
Absolutely.
So we're now going to dive into some serious ghost hunting, although you've already found a few, Darcy. We're going to edge down the red carpeted corridor that's lined with colorful paintings of famous Brits. Of course, Shakespeare is there. Have a look at the image called Corridor, if you can see it with the red carpet. Have you got the image?
I got it up.
Okay, great. It's going to lead us into some really eerie, haunted rooms. But are we alone here?
No, right at the entrance under that light, there feels like there's a man standing.
Okay. Any sense of what he might look like or be like? Or
well, I would have said, because he has a broadsword, is that still during the Saxons, or was that a little later?
I would say that's more like our 17th century Hawkhurst gang.
Okay.
Or 1700s, 18th century. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a broadsword. Makes me a little afraid to go through in case he takes a whack, right?
Yeah, well, keep that in mind. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot as I always do, Darcy. As we enter the next few photographs, we will be entering bedchambers. I want to see if you experience the same apparitions that numerous guests have experienced in the Mermaid Inn. So here's our first test. Move to the next photograph, which is called Room 1. It's a shot, kind of a low shot, upwards of a 4-poster bed. Quite dramatic. It's got not a lot of, it's not a very large room from what we can see. At least we're not seeing a lot of the room. I'm wondering if you see anything spooky wise in this room.
Okay, sitting where the two chairs are, which normally wouldn't exactly be those kind of chairs. There's two gentlemen talking. I'm not sure if Queen Elizabeth stayed in this room, but I would say someone of nobility has stayed here.
Okay.
Is this the White Lady's room?
It is the White Lady's room. Excellent, Darcy. How'd you get that? Because she's right there for you, right?
Just got on the bed.
She just, geez, I wish I could see her sitting on the bed. She also strolls up and down outside. I guess perhaps she was a bit anxious or worried, perhaps waiting for someone, looking for someone.
I love her.
Yes, I love her. Well, the proprietor of the inn says she saw the lady in white in the corridor walking towards this room. And when the proprietor turned to, watch her more closely, she had disappeared. So she's a believer for sure. She owns the inn, but she's certainly a believer of what's happening in the inn. Okay, let's go to that. And there's an individual that's one of the most commonly seen ghosts here, Darcy, and you haven't nailed her yet.
Okay.
Any sense of who this might be?
Well, I'm sort of wondering if it's the owner, like maybe the previous owner. But I keep feeling that there's a noble person that's been killed in here or died in here.
Oh, okay. I don't know that, but I'll keep back the one ghost just for you to see if she'll appear to you later. Let's move to the next photograph, which is of a room called Fleur de Lis. So we got a side view of a bed, not a four. Oh, it is a four-poster. Yeah. And we also have the ensuite in the next photograph beyond it. Of course, very modern looking, both of them. Do you get a sense of anyone that might have been spiritually hanging about here?
I'm going to say a man or two, but that's about all I'm feeling at this point. This is the room that the family was in.
Is it? Okay, well, from what I understand, a man is seen coming from the bathroom through the wall into the bedroom in this room.
Definitely can say the man, but it's funny because I would have said he died in this, like in the area, because I'm certain they revamped the rooms.
Right. Yeah.
Well, but it feels like James.
James?
Yeah. Like the name James, Jim. They probably wouldn't have called him Jim back then. It would have been James.
Okay, well, what's kind of interesting is that the room that we just looked at before this one, room number one, it's called the James room.
Oh.
But not the Fleur de Lis room. But maybe he went from one to the other.
No, it just could come in a little later.
Yes, that's true. Okay. Well, let's tiptoe off to room 15, which is called Dr. Sin's bedchamber.
Oh, that's a good name.
Yeah, well, Dr. Sin is a fictional character created by an English author named Russell Thorndike.
Okay.
And he of the ilk of the 17th century smuggling time frame. Okay. I've got two photographs of Dr. Sin's room. One's this sort of not very colorful shot of one of the beds. And then the other is a much brighter shot of two. It looks like two double beds, very large room. They are not four-poster beds. Can you get a sense of anything going on in these photographs of what might have happened in this room?
Wow. It's funny it says doctor, because I'm sort of thinking that there were some medical things that went on. Whoa, this is big enough to have the Queen in, isn't it?
It is. Absolutely. It's a huge room. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Again, seeing a man dead in this room. Did someone write a book in this room or a play?
That I don't know. Very possibly could have happened, but I mean, so many things could have happened, I guess, here. I have no reports on that.
Okay. It does feel like it. It does feel like someone wrote a book, a play in this room.
Oh, now how do you get that sense? Do you see somebody scribbling madly on parchment?
No, I saw a quill.
Oh,
yeah. A quill.
That's neat. Well, I'll give you an idea of some of the things that have happened in this room. There was a medium who came into the room with a group of people for a session or a seance, I guess. And the medium told the group that if he encountered anyone, any apparition, his face and voice would change. And by George, the 5 people who were in that room at that time say that's exactly what happened. As his face changed, the medium said, there's a man in the room with a dog.
Labrador?
I don't know. He's in the corner, and he asked each of the 5 to reach out into the sort of darkness of the corner, and they all reached out just into midair, and they all felt a dog. Now, whether that's, just a group psychosis or what, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Now, there was also a little girl here who might have been one of the little girls you ran into, or a little girl you ran into. She could have had a dog. Not sure if it was the same dog. So now we move to the next chamber, and we're finally going to hit your comment from the beginning, a nail on the head. It's called the Elizabethan bedchamber. Okay? Because, of course, Elizabeth I stayed here in 1573. Can you imagine? A few years ago. And in this room, there's a secret passage. There's a place called an oubliette, which means to forget in French, a little dungeon in this room, hidden away. Plus, there's a hidden staircase, which was used in the past by the smugglers to sneak and escape from the authorities. And perhaps nowadays, I don't really know if an odd guest or two has tried to use this hidden staircase. I'm not sure if it's available. But something incredibly dramatic and very unusual happens in this room, Darcy, and I'm really wondering if you're going to be able to nail or get your guides to tune in on this very unusual occurrence.
Okay. I don't know if I'm ahead of myself or behind myself.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I see 2 men sitting, getting up, the broadswords, and I can hear, when metal hits metal.
Keep going.
And I can hear chains. So they must have one of those ball and chain things.
Maybe.
Okay. So I would say that there was bloodshed in this room. And not just because the carpet's red.
Very funny. And you're saying blood was shed through fighting swords.
Yeah.
I like this. I'm glad I'm sitting down because here's the little my seeing dead people frisson up my back. This is astounding, and I really didn't think you'd get it, Darcy. For me, this is one of the coolest things that has been experienced that I've heard of. Yes, on a few occasions, not that commonly, I guess, but a few occasions, people staying in this room have been awoken in the old witching hour, 3:00 rough time frame.
Yeah.
To the sound of a commotion in the room. They hear the clashing of metal as if swords are clashing and hitting one another. They see a misty kind of blurred image of 2 swashbuckling clad, 18th century looking dudes fighting in a ferocious, noisy fight. Then they hear a horrendous, terrible death scream. So yes, one is killed, hit a knife with one of these long swords. Then, if you can believe it or not, the sound of presumably the loser being thrown down the hidden staircase while they were fighting for their lives, half dead. So that's amazing. You saw that and figured that out. I don't know how you could come up with that.
Because in the corner where the TV is and that bright yellow light, which I know is a reflection off of a scone, okay,
yep.
There is a gray misty area. So it makes me think that the hidden staircase may have been in that corner.
Okay.
Or they backed themselves into that corner. And I'm not at all surprised you said the loser got thrown down the stairs.
Why do you say that?
Because that's what I heard, like having fallen downstairs before, I know the thump, thump, thump sound of someone going down a set of stairs.
Wow. So you heard that?
Yeah.
That's, well, congratulations. Big kudos on that because number one, don't you think that's the coolest thing to have seen? I mean, that's pretty unusual to have a whole scene like that from my perspective.
I've done it so many times that no, but what's interesting is there's still gray fog there. So I'm thinking that that's not the only time that happened. I think some other things happen. Like I can see a lady who's got ringlets in her hair, a black dress on, and as though she's being pulled away. Like her hair's up, like Louis the 14th, 15th,
Okay.
the one that wore heels.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would have said someone there, like looked like she is in that time frame.
And she's being hauled away.
Yeah.
Well, I believe there is a rumor of a spirit of a woman, or the idea that a woman was held there and then, taken off. I don't know if she was murdered or not murdered, but was hauled off. So disappeared, I guess, is the generic kind of term. What I think really interesting is one of the couples who actually admitted to seeing this sword fight. I don't think everybody would admit to that. The room became incredibly cold, and you've talked about that happening, that you actually seen your breath in a room, which I just find so neat. It just pulls the old chill up your spine, not just because it's chilly, but because the whole idea is astounding. And they also felt that they themselves were in a time warp. So they thought the fight was happening, the fight was happening at that time. It wasn't being recreated for them. It was the fight. They were witnessing the fight.
What I'd like to know is when they saw it, was it on the day that the fight actually occurred?
Geez, I don't know, but that's something we're going to follow up on one of my listeners with the listener's question. We're going to talk about something exactly like this. Do these things happen on the dates that they happened in real life? That I can't tell you, but the fact that they saw these buccaneers or had a sense of these buccaneers in a sword fight, and that you had the same sense, that's just way to go. That's amazing. Now, to add to this, a barkeep on another occasion at the bar. So we're now upstairs in the bedroom. He's downstairs somewhere in the bar. At the bar, he claimed to hear the sound of a body tumbling out onto his bar, and all the bottles and glasses and ashtrays or whatever that was on the bar, bounced up as if something hit the bar and smashed down, broken. And he was convinced that this was this swashbuckler's body or something being thrown out and landing on the bar. Okay. And he quit the next day. And I don't blame him.
Yeah, I can see that.
Now, this room, as you talked about, this hotel has been filmed, and there's been lots of filming of this particular room because they're trying to get this scene happening. And they have had sightings of light orbs, and we've talked about the orb being some kind of energy being produced, right? Yes. They talked about catching glimpses of orbs and glimpses of flashes in the darkness that could be almost like the static, coming off the swords, the clanging of the swords, and possibly dim, shadowy figures. So I think that it sounds to me like this is quite some haunted room.
It is. I'd like to go here now.
Me too, but I'd only go if you would go. I don't know if I would go by myself. Okay, well, that's quite the dramatic room. I love that. And the fact that you knew that there was nobility and that Elizabeth, queen, had stayed here from your tarot cards. You said a queen had stayed there. You are right. So, and then the room is named after her. So I think that's pretty cool. You're doing amazingly well today. So let's just move on. We've got, I think, just the one room to go. The next room is called the, hang on, let me go. Oh, I'm just sorry. I've got a picture for you. The next one is a black and white, again, pen and ink drawing, just so you can see what the swashbuckling sword types, the Hawkers gang would have looked like. And that's kind of the image when the people talked about seeing the sword fight. They're getting that sense of the long coat, the pantaloons, that kind of pointed hat, and of course the long swords themselves. So pretty amazing.
Here's an interesting fact about that long sword. You notice how the tip curves a little?
I do.
I wonder if it was like a cross between a sword and what am I thinking of? The Japanese.
Oh, like a harikari sword.
Yeah,
Ooh. Well, do you think they're both holding it with the tip downward?
I know.
So do you think they would stab somebody in that regard so they would go down into the body?
Yeah, but I think I would have stabbed up and into the body.
Yeah, me too. But it's just, I guess they're both holding the sword. Looks to me like the tip is going down. So I haven't seen that before. It was a good observation, Darcy. Okay, we're going into now the King's Mill bedchamber. This is room number 17, nicknamed King's Mill, because it was named after the deputy of the Hawkhurst gang, Thomas Kingsmill, and he particularly enjoyed this room around 1740s. So I'm going to let you know that many of the gang met a justifiable end, shall we say.
This room, no kidding.
Kingsmill himself was executed by hanging 250 years ago, but that wasn't enough a deterrent against smuggling. His body was then hung in a contraption called a gibbet, which is really a bunch of chains or a cage, depending on the type of mechanism. And then the body would be stuffed in this chain thing and hung out, suspended for all to see forever until it just rotted away and the bones fell off. I mean, can you imagine that as your deterrent?
Yeah. But again, if I thought I could make a pretty penny, big deal. I'll keep going.
You think, I guess, the lure of money is a large lure. I don't know if I'd be willing to be executed by hanging and then gibbeted.
Yeah.
But let's look at the King's Mill room. Lovely big four-poster bed, the old classic planks on the ceiling, rich look to the whole place. What do you see in there, if anything or anybody?
Well, you've already said there were a lot of dubious characters probably died in this room.
Yeah.
At the hand of the king himself. I get the impression he was pulled out of this room in the middle of the night because I hear fighting and argument. And again, I'm pretty sure there's a hidden door here because I feel like I can bring things, women in particular, in and out of here without other people seeing it.
As you would.
Yes. And I know you can't see it, but so this is sort of for me like a reflection.
Okay.
And it's I think it's a TV there, but so we can see the bed.
Right.
So the reflection for me is coming on this side of the bed, like the back side, you can't see what's there.
Okay.
And I can see a man, he's about 5'9", had some hair pulled back, got a tie in it. So this could be during the Revolution. Red jacket.
Okay.
White top. The pantaloons still, because I think they still wore them then. It's like I'm moving forward. So I don't know if he's come up out of the secret room to catch someone, but that's what it feels like. But I'm seeing it in reverse because you can't see where I'm talking about.
Okay. Well, it's interesting to go back. That's cool. I can't see any of that, unfortunately. But to go back to your comment about someone being yanked from the room, one of the experiences for guests in this room is that in the middle of the night, their legs are yanked. So I think that's pretty cool. I was thinking, I wonder if you're going to get something to link that. And I think that does link that somebody could be hauled out of the room.
Yeah.
Also, there is a rocking chair that used to be in this room permanently. Do you know anything about a rocking chair that might have been here?
No, I don't see anything.
Okay, there used to be a rocking chair, and when it's in the room, it will rock in the middle of the night on its own. So much scary that people don't want it in the room anymore, and they have to be asked to put it in the room. Otherwise, the inn doesn't put it in there because too many people run from the room in the middle of the night and they don't have a satisfactory sleep. So that's kind of cool.
Okay, that's it. We're going to have to go so I can have them put the rocking chair in the room to see if it rocks.
Yes, and what I want to ask you is, if it were rocking, would you sit in it?
I talked to them first.
Okay, and if it weren't rocking, would you sit in it?
Yes.
So there are times the spirit is in the chair And times the spirit isn't in the chair.
Yes, when it's rocking, that normally means someone's in the chair.
Okay, and that's when you wouldn't want to sit on top of somebody.
No, I'd want to talk to them first to see if there's something I could do for them.
And you're saying that because they're rocking, they're looking for something? Is that why they still rock on Earth?
Or they're stuck.
They're stuck. Right. They're asking for help, maybe?
Could be.
Could be. Or they just enjoy sitting in that room.
If you think about a rocking chair was normally used to nurture, to console, to make that connection between mother and child.
Right.
So it could be a mother who could have lost her child, and so she's still there waiting for that child to come back.
Well, it's interesting you say that because there's a rumor of a woman who lost her child, gave birth to a child, and it died. And so she's forever seeking that child. But the connection as to whether she was the person in the rocking chair, it does make good sense because you're right.
Absolutely, that would be her.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't know if I would ever sit in it, whether it was rocking or not. But if you sat in it while it was rocking, would the spirit go away, or would you like become a medium then?
Well, I'm a medium. That's pushing the envelope for me. That's why I talk to them first.
Right, because they would go into you, right? They take advantage of it.
Good. And I have a policy. I'm in control, no entry.
Right. Well, what if someone is stupid like I am, saw it rocking and thought, "What the heck?" and I sat down? What might happen?
Well, you might feel something, you might not. But if you don't believe, nothing.
But if I do believe,
still probably nothing.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
No, wait. I'll wait till you go to the next picture.
Okay, well, that's pretty well. We've got a picture of the bathroom of the King's Mill. Don't know if it shows you anything.
Yes.
It's black, very dramatic. I don't know if it would kind of cause your eyes to glaze over. It's
okay.
quite black and white.
Well, here we go. Now put in one of those copper tubs in there.
Okay.
The maids put all the water in.
Yeah.
And then I've come in and I drown the person who's in the tub.